Have you ever stood in your own life and felt like a stranger? Have you ever chased something so desperately, happiness, love, peace, purpose, that your hands bled from reaching, your heart broke from wanting, your soul grew tired from the endless running? I have. We all have. We are born into this world with open hands and curious hearts. But somewhere along the way, we learn to grasp, to hold, to fear that if we don't clutch tightly enough, everything we love will slip through our fingers like water, like sand, like time itself. We are taught that life is a battle to be won, that love is a prize to be captured, that peace is a destination we must arrive at, exhausted and triumphant. But tonight, I want to share something different with you. Something the ancient masters discovered thousands of years ago, sitting beneath trees, watching rivers flow, observing how the moon doesn't chase the water, yet appears perfectly in its reflection. A truth so simple it sounds impossible. When you stop searching, everything comes to you. I know, I know what you're thinking. But if I stop trying, won't I lose everything? If I let go, won't it all fall apart? If I surrender, doesn't that mean I've failed? Stay with me, because tonight I want to tell you three stories. Ancient, yes, but as alive as your heartbeat, as current as your breath. Stories about real people who discovered that the very act of grasping was what kept them empty. These are stories about letting go, about trusting the terrifying wisdom of release, and about discovering that what you've been desperately seeking has been waiting for you all along, in the last place you thought to look. Story 1, The Fisherman and the Moon. Pause, the sound of gentle waves. Long, long ago, in a village so small it had no name, there lived a fisherman called Haru. Haru was not a wealthy man. His boat was old, his nets were patched, his hands were scarred from years of work, pulling sustenance from an ocean that gave and took with equal indifference. But Haru had something that made him rich beyond measure. He had wonder. Every single night, after the brutal work was done, after his back ached and his fingers bled, after he'd washed the salt from his skin and the exhaustion from his face, Haru would walk to the shore, and there in the velvet darkness he would sit. He would sit and watch the moon. Not the moon in the sky, though that was beautiful too, but the moon's reflection dancing on the water, trembling, shimmering, impossibly perfect. A liquid pearl that seemed to hold all the beauty in the universe, night after night, month after month, year after year. Until one evening, something shifted in Haru's heart. Wonder became wanting. He stared at that luminous reflection and whispered, first to himself, then to the universe, I want to hold the moon. It started as a gentle thought, a wish, almost innocent. But wishes have a way of becoming needs, and needs have a way of becoming desperation. The next night, Haru didn't just sit. He reached. His hands, those rough, honest fisherman's hands, stretched toward the water's surface, fingers trembling with desire and hope and a kind of beautiful, heartbreaking hunger. The moment he touched the water, the moon shattered into 1,000 fragments, a million broken lights scattering across the surface like glass, like diamonds, like dreams that splinter the instant you try to possess them. Haru gasped, pulled back, waited. Slowly, painfully, the water calmed. The moon reformed. Again, he thought, I'll be more careful this time. He reached again. The moon shattered again. Night after night, Haru returned to this ritual of breaking, reaching, shattering. Each time the frustration grew. Each time, the peace he'd once felt sitting by the water transformed into agony. His obsession consumed him. He stopped sleeping properly. His fishing suffered. His friends worried. His wife watched him with sad, knowing eyes. The way you watch someone you love destroy themselves with wanting. And still, every night, he reached for a moon he could never hold. Until one evening, an old monk happened to pass by. The monk had been walking for days, perhaps weeks. His robes were dusty, his feet were bare, but his eyes were calm like dawn. He stood there silent as stone, watching Haru frantically reach and grasp and break the moon over and over again. Finally, in a voice as gentle as fallen leaves, the monk spoke. My friend, The moon does not need to be caught. Haru looked up, face wet with spray and tears. He hadn't known he was crying. But I want it, he said, his voice cracking. I need to possess this beauty, to prove it's real, to make it mine. The old monk smiled, not with pity, but with recognition, as if he too had once reached for impossible moons. Sit still, the monk said softly, and the moon will rest in your hands. How? Haru demanded. How can I have something without reaching for it? That makes no sense. Try, was all the monk said. Just try. And so, with every cell in his body screaming to grab, to possess, to control, Haru stopped. He withdrew his trembling hands. He pulled them into his lap. He closed his eyes. He breathed. Once, twice, 3 times. He felt the rage of wanting, the ache of desire, the fear that if he didn't grasp this beauty, it would disappear forever. But he sat, and he breathed, and slowly, so slowly, the water became calm. When Haru finally opened his eyes and looked down, there it was, the moon, whole, complete, perfect. Not in his hands, but reflected in the still water of his open palms. In that moment, Haru understood something that would change his life forever. The moon had always been willing to rest with him. It was his grasping that made it impossible. Music swells gently, then softens. How many times have we been Haru? How many times have we reached for love and shattered it with our fear of losing it? Reached for peace and destroyed it with our anxiety about whether it would last? Reached for happiness and crushed it under the weight of our desperate need to make it permanent? We suffocate what we love with the very act of clinging. We chase our children and wonder why they run. We grip our partners and wonder why they feel trapped. We pursue success until we're too exhausted to enjoy it. We hunt for meaning until the joy of living dies in our hands. The ancient Zen masters knew a secret that breaks your heart open. The tight fist receives nothing. The open hand receives the world. When you clench, life cannot enter. When you release, everything flows to you. Not because you deserve it, not because you've earned it, but because that's simply how water finds its level, how breath finds the lungs, how love finds the heart that makes space for it. Story 2. The Woman Who Searched for Tomorrow. A shift in music, something wistful, tinged with regret. There was once a woman named Aiko, and Aiko believed, with absolute certainty, that her real life was somewhere else, always somewhere else, always just beyond reach, always tomorrow. When she was a little girl, small and wide-eyed, she thought, I'll be happy when I grow up, when I'm finally free to make my own choices. So she endured her childhood like a sentence, counting the years like a prisoner counts days. When she grew up, she thought, I'll be happy when I meet the right person, when I marry, when I'm no longer alone. So she poured all her energy into searching for that one person who would finally make her complete. And she found someone. She married. But on her wedding day, even as she smiled for the photographs, a small voice whispered, I'll be happy when we have children, when this house feels like a real home. The children came, beautiful, demanding, heartbreaking little miracles. And Aiko loved them. Oh, how she loved them. But even as she held their small warm bodies, rocked them through fevers, kissed their scraped knees and broken hearts, that voice continued, I'll be happy when they're older, when they sleep through the night, when they go to school, when they're independent, when I have time for myself again. The years passed, the children grew, and then, I'll be happy when they're successful, when they've found their path, when I know they'll be okay without me. Do you see what was happening? Aiko's whole life had become a long, lonely conversation with tomorrow. Her body sat at the dinner table, but her mind was 5 years in the future. Her hands tucked her children into bed, but her heart was waiting for some magical moment that never seemed to arrive. She was always living in a time that didn't exist yet. One day when Aiko was older, her hair graying, her face mapped with years of waiting, she visited a Zen teacher everyone said was very wise. She knelt before the master and asked, with the kind of desperation that comes from a lifetime of postponed living, Master, when will my life finally begin? I've been waiting so long. When does the real thing start? The master said nothing. Instead, he began to pour her tea. The cup filled. He kept pouring. The tea reached the rim. Still, he poured. Hot tea spilled over the edge, pooling on the table, dripping onto Aiko's hands, scalding and real and impossible to ignore. "Stop," she cried, jumping up. "Stop! The cup is full. Can't you see it's full?" The master set down the teapot. He looked at her with eyes that had seen this pattern 10,000 times before, and he smiled. Such a sad, compassionate smile. "Exactly," he said quietly. "Your life is already full, Aiko. Your cup has been overflowing for decades, but you have not been here to taste it. You've been so busy looking ahead that you've missed the only thing that's real. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this one irreplaceable instant of being alive." Aiko stood there, tea dripping from her hands, and for the first time in her entire life, she felt the weight of all those missed moments, all those beautiful, ordinary, sacred moments she'd sacrificed on the altar of someday. Her daughter's first word. She'd been thinking about tomorrow. Her husband's hand reaching for hers in the dark. She'd been planning next week. The cherry blossoms outside her window. She'd walked past them 1,000 times, never really seeing. The sunset, the laughter, the quiet mornings, the soft rain. All of it happening while she was somewhere else. The music becomes almost unbearably tender. How many of us are living like Aiko? Our bodies in today, but our minds haunting tomorrow or yesterday, like ghosts who forgot how to be alive. We tell ourselves, "I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be peaceful when I retire. I'll start living when I have more money, more time, more certainty." We make happiness conditional. We make peace something we have to earn. We make this moment, this precious, fleeting, never coming again moment, into something we have to endure on our way to somewhere better. But here's the truth the Buddha discovered 2,500 years ago, sitting under a tree, giving up the search for enlightenment. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. There is no future moment when you'll finally be worthy of peace. There is no distant shore where suffering ends. There is only this, here, now, the sacred ordinary, your breath moving in and out, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sound of someone you love saying your name, the taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. This is it. This is the life you've been waiting to begin. It's already begun. The question is, are you here for it? Story 3. The Man Who Lost Everything. The music shifts, something deeper with the weight of grief. There was once a merchant, a successful man, or so everyone thought. He had built an empire from nothing. His business spanned cities. His reputation was golden. His friends were many. His pride was vast. He had constructed his entire identity on one foundation: success. And then, it all fell apart. A bad investment, a betrayal, a change in the market. The details don't matter. What matters is this. Everything he had built crumbled like sandcastles before a tide. His business collapsed. His home was taken. His so-called friends vanished like smoke. And the man was left with nothing but shame. Shame so heavy it followed him like a shadow, so thick he could barely breathe through it. He wandered for months, lost in a fog of self-hatred and disbelief, until, desperate and broken, he found himself at the gates of a remote monastery. He knelt before the master and begged, "Teach me how to get my life back. Give me wisdom. Give me strategy. Give me answers. I need to rebuild. I need to become who I was. Please." The master looked at this devastated man for a long time. Then he said simply, "Sit by the river every morning. That is all." The man was confused. "But that's not... I need specific teachings, techniques, a plan." "Sit by the river," the master repeated. "Come back when you're ready." And so the man obeyed, because what else could he do? Every morning before sunrise, he trudged to the riverbank. He sat on cold stones. He watched the water flow past, indifferent to his suffering, unconcerned with his shame, untouched by his desperate need for answers. Days passed, weeks, months. The man grew angrier. "This is useless," he would mutter. "I'm wasting time. I should be rebuilding. I should be making connections. I should be doing something." One morning, after months of sitting and seething, he finally broke. He marched back to the monastery and shouted at the master, "I asked you for answers. I asked you for wisdom. I asked you for help. And all you've given me is silence and water. How is this supposed to fix my broken life?" The master remained calm, as still as the Buddha himself. He asked gently, "Tell me, friend, can you force the river to flow faster?" The man blinked, caught off guard. "What? No, of course not. Can you command the sun to rise earlier? No. Can you make winter turn to spring by force of will? No, but what does this?" The master's voice became even softer, even kinder. "Then why do you believe your life should obey your fear? Why do you think you can control the timing of healing? Why do you imagine you can force the future into being through sheer desperation?" The man opened his mouth to argue, but no words came. Instead, something inside him cracked, and through that crack poured all the grief he'd been holding, all the terror, all the exhaustion of fighting against a current he couldn't change. He sank to the ground and wept. The master sat beside him and waited. When the tears finally slowed, the old teacher spoke. "You came here wanting to swim upstream, to fight your way back to who you were before. But life is a river, my friend. It flows in only one direction. You cannot go back. You can only let it carry you forward. The question is, will you fight the current until you drown? Or will you learn to float?" Long pause, the sound of water flowing. Months later, the man was sitting by the river, as he did every morning now. But something had changed. He wasn't sitting in resistance anymore. He wasn't waiting for his old life to come back. He was simply there, watching the water, feeling the air, being alive. A young monk approached him and asked, "Are you the man who lost everything?" The man smiled, a real smile, the first in years. "I was," he said. "I came to this place to get my old life back. Instead, I found a new one. I lost my business, but I found peace. I lost my pride, but I found humility. I lost my certainty, but I found wonder. The river taught me something I could never have learned in success. Sometimes we don't lose our way. Sometimes the way loses us, so a better path can find us." The music builds with quiet hope. How often do we fight the current? How often do we rage against what is, demanding that life conform to our expectations, our timelines, our plans? We lose a job and think it's the end of the world, not realizing it might be the doorway to work that actually feeds our souls. We lose a relationship and think we'll never love again, not seeing that we're being freed to become whole on our own, to love ourselves first. We face illness, failure, heartbreak, change, and we clench our fists and scream, "No, this isn't what I wanted," as if wanting alone could alter the river's course. But Zen teaches us something radical. Letting go is not giving up. It is making space for what wants to arrive. When you stop fighting, you start floating. When you stop controlling, you start receiving. When you surrender to the current, you discover it was carrying you towards something you couldn't have imagined. Not because life is inherently good or fair, but because resistance is what creates suffering, and acceptance is what creates possibility. The teaching, the secret of not searching. The music becomes very soft, very intimate. Now I can almost hear some of you thinking, but if I let go, won't I become passive? If I stop trying, won't I just drift aimlessly? If I surrender, doesn't that mean I don't care? No, Zen does not tell us to be lazy. It does not ask us to abandon our dreams or stop taking action. It tells us something far more subtle, far more powerful. Act without desperation, love without clinging, work without fear, create without attachment to outcomes, give without needing anything back. Do what you're called to do, but hold it lightly. The difference is everything. When you chase success from a place of fear, you'll never feel successful enough. When you chase love from a place of emptiness, you'll never feel loved enough. When you chase peace from a place of anxiety, you'll never feel peaceful enough. But when you act from fullness, when you give because it's who you are, not because of what you'll get, when you love because your heart is open, not because you need to be completed. Everything changes. The grip loosens, the grasping stops, and in that space, life flows in. When you stop searching, what happens? The right people feel safe to stay because they're not being suffocated by your need. They're being met by your wholeness. The mind becomes clear like still water because it's not constantly churning with fear and planning and what ifs. It simply reflects what is. Opportunities notice you because you're finally present enough to see them. You're not running past them towards some imaginary future. Here's the miracle that changes everything. What is meant for you does not require a war. It does not require force or manipulation or exhausting yourself to prove your worth. What is meant for you requires only one thing: openness, open hands, open heart, open mind. The willingness to stop fighting long enough to receive. The invitation. The music becomes almost whisper soft. So tonight, wherever you are, whether you're sitting in a quiet room or lying in bed, whether you're heartbroken or hopeful or so tired you can barely feel anything anymore, whether you're young and searching or old and still wondering when your life will begin, I want to invite you to try something, just for a moment. Stop searching. Just stop. Stop trying to fix everything. Stop planning how to be better, different, more worthy. Stop rehearsing conversations that haven't happened yet. Stop replaying moments that already passed. Just stop and breathe. Breathe as if nothing is missing, as if you are exactly where you need to be, as if this moment, flawed and ordinary and imperfect as it is enough. Listen, not for answers, not for solutions, just listen to the sound of your own breath, to the hum of life around you, to the quiet truth beneath all the noise. You are alive right now. This is it. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the air on your skin. Feel the beating of your heart, that faithful, miraculous muscle that has not stopped working for you since before you were born. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove you deserve to be here. You already are. Mompas. This is what Zen has always known, what the fisherman discovered by the water, what Aiko learned from her overflowing cup, what the merchant found by the river. You were not meant to hunt for life. You were meant to meet it, to receive it, to let it unfold like a flower you don't have to force open. And when the heart finally becomes still, when the grasping softens, when you stop running, everything that was running from you quietly comes home. The music fades to near silence. The moon rests in your open hands. The tea fills your cup. The river carries you exactly where you need to go. Not because you forced it, but because you finally let it. Silence. End.